on.
All right.
Can you hear me? I can't hear anybody, unfortunately. Okay, in that case, I'm going to try to join with one of my mobile devices here. Are you able to hear me by chance, folks?
Sorry.
Okay.
We're having issues over here.
Oh, so was it not my computer?
That's correct.
Okay. In that case, I might
That's it.
venture to switch back over to that then rather than my phone.
How's that? Can you hear us now?
I can hear you guys.
Great. All right. Moving on. Okay. Brendan, can we assume you're present?
I'm present.
All right. Very good. All right. Moving on to approval of previous board minutes. Did these get sent out? Okay. I had a Disney vacation and then I got COVID from the Disney vacation in the meantime. So I'm a little bit out of sorts on tracking this.
Disney or
What?
is that due to Disney?
A little bit of everything. A 1-year-old at Disney was a poor choice.
So, Mr. Chair, there are no objections to the presentation minutes. I call for them to be accepted.
I vote aye. Yes.
Those in favor vote aye. Mr. Betts, how do you vote for the minutes?
You muted.
Thank
All
you.
right. We're gonna, yeah, that's an aye. All right. Moving on to township.
Aye.
updates.
Here we go.
Ed, if you'd like to start us off.
I don't have a whole lot.
That's
You just
okay.
want me to do it from here? Can I just do it from here?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, just speak up because I think the
So-
microphone's up here.
Run number wise, we're down about 30 runs over what we were last year. We're down about 30, which is pretty normal about this time of year anyway. Our runs though that we have had have been pretty significant runs. We've had quite a few fire calls. We had a couple structure fires over the last 3 weeks or so. And it's just been again, kind of, we're seeing the fruits of some of the work that we put in over the last couple of years and kind of rebuilding some relationships around this west side. Showed up to the last fire that we had a few days ago. Really helped us out quite a bit. We were running a skeleton crew, so it was great having them there. The fire that we had out on Finch Meadows 2.5 weeks ago, almost 3 weeks ago now. We had 5 different departments there, but it went really well. We saved a significant amount of the house, which was a big deal given where it was at and the difficulty we had getting to it. So everything on that fire should have went wrong and it just didn't. So we're kind of blessed with how it turned out. And, we've got a lot of folks that are really invested in making sure that, we're all doing a better job and we've got our folks together and trained. So I think just the training that we put into folks really helped that fire go the way it did. Could have been pretty messy for us. So, but really a lot of our time's just been kind of tied up in working on perf stuff and all the stuff that we're gonna talk about today as we move forward. But we're working on kind of recruitment for volunteers. We're working on bringing on another group of volunteers right now. Really, that's where a lot of our focus is going to end up being as we're moving forward, trying to work on our recruitment and retention of the volunteers, just like the paid staff that we're having to look for. So, and during the summertime, our numbers of personnel kind of drops anyway when students are out and they're going home back to where they're from. So, we end up kind of digging in a little bit to the folks that live around here. They end up running quite a bit more. So, but we've got, we've got Andrew Spiker just working part-time. We've had him working, he's putting in quite a bit of hours and it's super helpful. We're going to work on trying to shuffle his hours around to where, we're able to kind of identify those busy times to have him here more during that time and adding more part-time staff. And we're getting to a point that we're going to have to start doing that anyway. We're going to have to start adding more part-time staff through the day until we can get more full-time staff hired. So just to have another, more bodies around, we're getting back to that place where our paid staff's running by themselves on some calls. And it's just not fruitful for us. So, yeah. But we're working on it. We're making progress.
Great. On Hill, you got any updates for us other than the new business?
So obviously, as Ed mentioned, a lot of our time in the last few months has been focused on the retirement stuff, which is what we're going to present here today. Other than that, we just went through and updated our phone systems. They finally got installed here last week on Thursday, so I'll make sure to update those on the website as well, so that it reflects the accurate number there. Among those stuff, just a quick update. For purpose of the fire department, we created a set of different inboxes to streamline what stuff comes in so that it goes to the appropriate folks in the department. So we set up a good system that should be a foundation for going forward to make sure that we're a little bit more organized. And that'll allow us to serve the community better. I know that Chief worked hard to get those all set up as well, so we just did that. In addition to that, really, we've been focused on this. We are finalizing the cemeteries. We started working with West Lafayette to recognize 2 of them as historic districts. I think I mentioned that in one of our recent meetings as well. And so those would be the cemeteries near the president's, the University President's Mansion. So that's McCormick Cemetery, and here in the corner of Klondike and Sagamore Parkway, where we have a second cemetery, and that one has a Revolutionary War veteran entered there. So we're trying to preserve a couple of our cemeteries within city limits, and hopefully in the future it'll open up opportunities for funding. In addition to that, I don't have a ton right now. I was out on vacation for this last week, so I apologize. I don't have the full monthly report for you guys. I will make sure to send it to you guys here by tomorrow. And I will upload it onto the website as well for April, and then in May is here when we have our June regular meeting. I'll make sure to include that there. For the June regular meeting, just to give you a heads up as to what we're going to be working on, we've been working to create a employee manual, a handbook, and so generally speaking, employee handbooks are approved by the governing board of the government unit. So I'll make sure to present the draft for those prior to that meeting for your guys' consideration. In addition to that, we're also working to revamp the debit and credit card usage policy for the township. The one was adopted probably about 7 or 8 years ago, and so we want to make sure that it's up to date and that it meets the needs of our department. At that time, we only had 1 debit card. Right now, we have 2 debit cards, one that's on the trustees' name and one for fire department purchases. So we just want to make sure that it reflects that the policy reflects that, as well as any concerns that the board might have about possible loopholes or stuff like that. And related to that, we have the internals controls, which is something that units should review relatively frequently, every couple of years. So we'll make sure to present some changes to those if necessary, and they can be amended for the policy. So, yeah.
Great. Any public comment, which I think is just Bill and Eric. All right, moving on. There's no old business. The new business for today and our primary purpose today is a resolution for joining the 1977 police officers and firefighters pension. So Angel, I believe you just drafted the resolution. I haven't seen the full text yet.
So let me get you guys here. I'm trying to, I'll have actually to send it more sense. I should have sent it here. Sorry, as I said, vacation mode.
Yeah, that's okay.
Read what you said.
Yeah, we could either read it out, or if you want me to share my screen, if you send it to me, I can do that.
I'll go ahead and send it, and I think it makes most sense to read it out here. So
Sure.
let me send it out to you guys. So this will be in 2 parts. So this is the heavy portion here, which is the draft resolution, very similar to the one that we had sent out last year when we did this. Because as you guys probably remember, we did a resolution last year. And then obviously for reasons that we don't have to rehash, it didn't actually happen. So this is the main resolution here, which is for the purpose of joining the 1977 fund. And then I'm finishing up a second draft, which is basically authorizing this to be signed, and a couple other pieces like the authorized agent and the composition of the pension board, which is something that we have to do for inputs. So I sent you the draft.
For clarification, this is resolution 2022-16.
Yes. So this is the main body of it, which is the one that allows us to join that the 1977. You should have.
You want to read that?
You can go ahead and read it.
I'd have to get in my mail.
I can read it out. Okay, let me read it out. So. Whereas the township board is the government, and I'm gonna skip parts that say Wabash, I'm just gonna refer to it as the township board, but it says Wabash Township.
Yep.
Whereas the township board is the governing body of Wabash Township, it's in Green County. Whereas the governing body is fully cognizant that the current cost is 17 5/10%, so 17.5% of the certified salary for the employer and 6% of certified salary for the employee, and at intervals directed by the Board of Trustees of IMPRS, the Indiana Public Retirement System. The actuary will review the status of the employees covered and shall adjust the cost percentage accordingly so that the fund will remain on an actuarially sound basis. Whereas Indiana Code authorizes employer to pay all or part of the mandatory employee contribution for employees participating in the 1977 fund. Now therefore be it ordained by the governing body of Wabash Township, Section 1, the township elects to join, to become a participating unit in the 1977 Police and Firefighters Pension and Disability Fund as established by Public Law Number 9, and all acts amendatory therefore or supplemental thereto. The township, Section 2, the township of Wabash agrees to make the required contributions to IMPERS. Section 3, that effective as of the first day of July 2022, the township shall pick up all of the mandatory contribution for employees who are members of the 1977 fund. Said employees should not be entitled to choose to receive the contributed amounts directly instead of having them paid by the employer to the specified pension fund. So here's what you choose. The way that it'll be picked up is through a salary reduction pickup, but said contribution, and so I'll skip the description of here. Section 4, the following are declared to be covered by the 1977 fund. All full-time firefighters presently employed by the Township Fire Department who have met the minimum medical standards of the 1977 fund, and all subsequent employees hired as full-time firefighters for the Wabash Township Fire Department. This resolution establishes a retirement fund for the employees declared in Section 4 above and supersedes any other resolution for a retirement system now in effect for said employees. Whereas, and so the active date of the participation membership of the Township Department shall begin again on July 1st, 2022. This resolution establishes Wabash Township will purchase prior service. Any remaining member costs of the prior service shall be assumed by the employer after the PERF annuity savings balance account is transferred. Service shall be purchased for the employees Eddie Ward, Joseph Wade, Andrew Hampton, Travis Merkel. The active date of, and this is a separate, is to say when we're purchasing it through back. The active date of the participation membership of the Wabash Township Fire Department, and this is in the draft, shall begin on September 1st, 2012, which is the first date of employment. Well, September 11th is the first day of employment of one of our firefighters back in 2012.
Okay.
And then the signatures. And so that's the resolution. Just a quick explainer here for the salary reduction pickup. We just went through and double checked with IMPERS. What that means is basically that it's a pre-tax contribution on the part of the employee, but essentially the employer is paying it itself. So we're just reducing their salary in theory to make that payment ourselves, and it helps them in taxes. So,
Yep.
It's a very basic thing.
Yep.
This is a much better salary reduction than last one we had.
Reach, brother. And as I've mentioned to the township board, I'm just pulling it up. I've sent you guys the numbers last week for what the purchase of prior service would have looked like, depending on the, I know that I've sent it to you, so let me pull it up here. Sent. And so the prior service purchase. All right, so the prior service buyback for all of the prior service comes out to $214,000 for all the time that they've been through. And as I mentioned on that email with the balance of the accounts as of December 31st of last year, and then the predicted end of the year, based on our current budget, that would come out to ending our year on the following number, which should be about $393,000. Yeah, $393,342, which would, even if we didn't get any money from the population growth appeal, which is not going to be the case, we would still be able to fund the department at current rate through an entire year.
Okay.
We've still been in communications with the Department of Local Government and Finance, and it's all going smoothly. We haven't, they would have contacted us at this point if there was an issue with our application, but it just hasn't come in the new budget order. So,
Okay, so we mean roughly July of 23 is our runway,
no, it would be through December of 23,
December of 23. Okay,
if we didn't get any money.
gives us a year and a half. Okay.
Yeah. I meant the year from end of the year, sorry.
Sure.
That was-
Yep. Just clarifying.
Yes.
Okay. I see no issues with that. It's making things right. Anything from fellow members of the board that we want to discuss about this before we move forward to a vote?
Mr. Chair, just let me reiterate for the public watching and for the minutes. Resolution 2022-16 is a resolution electing to join the 1977 Police Officers and Firefighters Pension and Disability Fund as administered by the Indiana Public Retirement Fund. The draft of this resolution is an enroll current and future paid firefighters in the Wabash Township Fire Department in the 1977 Retirement Fund, which is similar in nature to the 401k and the 403b retirement options. I added to this note resolution 2022-05, which has been passed previously in April is clarifying the payment schedule for 1977 fund contributions for prior service was approved April 2022, which is Mr. Trustee Valentine just alluded to.
Yep.
So that will go into the minutes.
Okay. And this is all coming out of cash on hand, we're not taking on any debt to make these payments. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
So-
and the only thing I'd have to add is that it's really nice to see the fruition of a long-term goal. You know, folks who have sat in these seats on the board and also are now trustee. And I know obviously it's been in the back of the mind of our public servants too. So I'm pretty pleased to be able to see this kind of go on a roller coaster ride, but to kind of end in hopefully a good place and to, like you said, Chair, make things right. So I think that this is kind of a nice milestone. You know, I think it definitely brings our department more in line with professional standards that we'd like to see in our community. So I'm excited to see this to come up for a vote here today.
Totally agree.
And to add to that, which Brendan said, probably most folks here, but for the public, what this also means is that future-wise, we're professionalizing our department. So folks that come into the department on a full-time basis will need to meet the minimum requirements for the 1977 fund to be able to join the department. So we had to go through this for our current employees. We got all of their certifications back saying that they're qualified to be on the 1977 fund. But this also provides for the township to have additional insurance when it comes to that. So if we bring somebody in, they have to meet that requirement. If they don't meet it, then we simply cannot employ them given the requirements of the 77.
Okay, if there's nothing else, I would call for a vote on resolution 2022-16.
Call for the vote of resolution 2022-16.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Betts. Chair Pitlars, how do you vote?
Aye.
Member Brendan Betts, how do you vote?
I vote joyously in the affirmative.
Secretary David Tate votes as well, joyously in the affirmative. The motion passed unanimously, Mr. Chair.
All right.
A long time coming.
Yes. Yes. Good to put a bow on this one. All right.
Yes.
The only other thing left to discuss was future meeting dates. So this one got punted because we were missing some paperwork. And so there's only 2 weeks left until when we were supposedly going to have our next meeting. So I guess the only question I have for you, Angel, is that enough time?
Yeah,
prep
we'll be able to
everything?
do enough time for all of that. One thing before we do jump on to the next one,
Sure.
I know that we don't have to have a full-on specific resolution. It can be a motion of the board. So we have to go through and we're gonna try and formalize this with an ordinance later in the year. But we have to also establish a pension board. And so we, I'll have Chief Ward, if that's okay, explain what it.
Please.
So essentially the pension board, there's state code that regulates or kind of gives a guideline or guidance towards how to build the pension board. So the pension board takes care of multiple things. So it's holding the hearings for approval or disapproval of disability applications. It's setting standards, kind of what the testing standards are for new applicants, to fall more in line with the changes that the IMPERS makes. That kind of keeps all that combined with the department and with IMPERS. The board will kind of act as the liaison between, if heaven forbid, if we lose a firefighter here, in the line of duty, the board will be kind of that liaison between the state and the firefighter's family, for the survivors. The board will also review all the baseline medical, physical, or psychological evaluations that are sent back to us from PERF, to ultimately do a higher, no higher sort of evaluation. Just because they make their recommendation back from PERF, it'll be that board that looks at those and decides. You can get what's called exclusions for many, many things, and that they'll give you an exclusion and they will say, okay, he's recommended, but understand that he's got these exclusions, he or she, and some of those are exclusions that we may not want to take on as an organization. So that'll be part of that board's, I guess, purview to review those. The board will also have a pension secretary that's assigned to, or that comes from that board. The pension secretary will be ultimately responsible for that connection to IMPERS. So there's an online portal, onboarding new employees, any disability reports or claims, those sorts of things that have to be funneled back to the state. There will be a pension secretary that comes out of that. That pension secretary cannot be myself and it cannot be Angel. So typically the way that the state gives the guidance, it's in talking to our rep at IMPERS, the IC code was written a very long time ago, so they give a whole lot of latitude and structure, but they want it kind of based off of that. So our board, hopefully, our goal is to structure our pension board, which would be the trustee and the fire chief, just ex officio, just given the position, they will have spots on the board. We are creating a EMS division chief here, which would end up being Sherry Hertz. Sherry will sit on there as well to be able to review those applications as they come in as well. All the medical side of things. I can't think of anybody better to review those and look out for our department. In our township, there will be 2 career firefighters that will sit on that board. And then they have a recommendation of 1 retired firefighter to sit on that board as well. We just don't have a retired firefighter now to fill that spot. So that spot will stay vacant right now, and that will give us an uneven number intentionally for both. Once we end up with a retired firefighter to put there, then we can grow that career firefighter group to 3 to offset. So there's a whole lot of things that the board's responsible for, and really it's just kind of more or less handled by the boots on the ground doing a lot of that stuff, being able to police their own things and not have to be something that's handled through the trustee's office necessarily or something like that. So that's just the goal is just to have it structured in a way that we're able to have that direct communication. We, the fire department, are able to have that direct communication with IMPERS and it not have to be a convoluted process to have connection with them or what have you. So
Sure.
Question, Chief, how are the members of the pension board selected besides ex officio?
The members of the fire department will be selected. I mean, the EMS division chief would be whomever is holding that position at the time, and then the career firefighters will be selected by the fire department, the firefighters themselves. They will choose who those 2 members Right now, it's a short straw thing, given that there's only, with the exception of me, 3 other people, whoever gets a, I guess the short straw doesn't have to do it, right? But that's the way they'll be selected. And the retired firefighter, there's not really guidance necessarily towards that one. But I would assume that would end up being a vote from the membership of the department as well.
And
We'd probably,
a number, it's gotta be an odd number for
Yeah.
voting.
Yeah.
So right
Five.
now it would be 5. In the case of a retired individual, it would be 7 because it would be one more retired individual. and
Plus
half
another
of career.
firefighter. Yeah.
I ran all this structure through our employer liaison or our employer advocate at Embers. Just kind of this structure, given that IC code, depending on where in IC code you look, it gives 3 or 4 different suggestions. And she said that they were pretty liberal about, so long as you build off that. And I ran this structure through and she said that would work great, as long as we're able to, as a township, adopt an ordinance or a resolution to point everything back to that board.
Yeah.
So,
So what we would be asking essentially is a motion of the board saying that this is how it'll be, like, what it would look like, and then we'll formalize it via an ordinance, especially, we have a couple of other things coming down the pipeline. I know that it's, well, it's technically public knowledge at this point. So the firefighters have also moved to unionize, and so we're working on, there will be some more, details as to what that looks like going forward. And so there's a couple of pieces that will go with that. So including the merit board that we're hoping to establish, obviously it'll be up to the board, but that the trustee will recommend. And same with the ordinance that would also outline that. And probably one of the options, as I understand it, for who sits on the INPERS board, it could be that the union membership select the 2 firefighters, which is, it's essentially the department. But
Sure.
we
Sure.
would just formalize all of these things via ordinance so that it's a more binding than a resolution. Go forward.
Sure. Is this something that needs to be done before July 1 when we do the contributions and get that all rolling?
Not the ordinance, no, but we could, the motion, yeah, so basically
Okay.
saying.
So we'll try to get it done at the next meeting is what we're saying.
Yeah,
as long as there's a motion accepted to move forward, I think that would be enough to get
Yeah.
the signature on the
Okay.
paperwork that I need. So,
Okay.
because so we would need to technically, the motion for the shape of it would have to be right now, because it would need to be, some of those have to sign these forms that come in, including.
Right now. it's the next one. Or this one.
No,
by right now, I have to submit all the physicals tonight.
Okay.
And I
So
need
we
a
got to do this
signature
as new
from
business
the
right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
sorry, that's all right.
All right. So do we have a resolution 2022-17 then? That,
I can draft one real quick if you hold for 5 minutes. We can.
Do we want to just
Okay,
see if there's a motion on the floor?
Yeah, 'cause
That's fine
what I'm
too.
saying, 'cause
that's
you don't-
fine too.
You would be able to do it via motion without a formal.
Got it.
resolution.
Got it. Okay.
Could you amend the motion to join 77 and add that to it?
We can just create, here would be my suggestion, actually. So that if you put the meeting on hold for 5 minutes, if you take a break for 5 minutes, I can finish drafting it up and then pick it up in 5 minutes, if that's what it would be.
Mr. Chair, you just have to call for recess for 5 minutes.
All right. I call for a recess for 5 minutes. Very good.
Sorry, we have been working up to the wire on this.
That's okay. That's okay.
Uh,
We're here to make sure you have what you need.
with Indiana. For the retired position, does that person have to come from? Or be any retirement?
The understanding I have, what it could be, essentially it needed to be a retiree from the 77 fund. It didn't necessarily have to be from our department. And I asked her about that. If we needed to try to find a retiree that's going to connect to the 77 fund. She said, her suggestion was we could kind of just leave it open, but she said it was just a suggestion. It didn't really matter. But she said there wasn't really hard.
If it was like a preference within
the fund comes from.
Yes, not that I found that there wasn't a preference one there. And I think truthfully to me, I think it's really just about the connection to the 7-7, not so much about the department. I mean, because I think that, you know, if you've been connected to, if you retired out of the 7-7 fund, it is what it is, no matter where you're at. So,
The standards apply statewide.
yes.
Is there a brief site that you can send me to that pension fund that I could just copy some verbiage from that for folks?
I can send you, I got all of it right here actually in the email. Let me just forward this to you.
And for clarification, merit board is different than the pension.
Yes.
Merit, those are chosen, I don't want to distract you from it.
Right.
Those are chosen.
The mayor board, when we established our mayor board in Crawfordsville, the choices, like the fire department had 2 seats, the mayor had a seat, police, board of public works had a seat, city council had a seat. Like it was kind of how it was structured was it was so many, all the entities were given so many seats. Ultimately, at the end of the day, the mayor had the most seats, right? Because
So is
he
there something that
board
you would-
works and whatever, but
There's no definitive guideline, is it something that you would put together?
there's a guideline for it based on population, size of the city, that sort of thing. There's guidance.
So we can list that if we find it.
We will have all of that provided to us.
Excellent, thank you.
Yeah, do you want me to send it to the DTA at Wabash Township? Is that okay?
If you send it to board at Wabash Township, it goes to all 3 of their personal and professional lives.
And I hope not.
Yeah.
send it to you here shortly because I haven't filled it. So I'm ready if you want to call the meeting back to order. I'm sending it to Dave.
All right, I'll motion to call the meeting back to order.
Second.
Second.
All right, motion carries. And I assume you sent this to the board at,
Yep, and I can read it out loud.
okay, yeah, do that. I'm still waiting on it, so.
It's a very short resolution, so it says, whereas, so a resolution documenting additional details regarding the 1977 fund. Whereas the Indiana Public Retirement System requires that a pension board be established. Whereas the township must select an authorized agent to manage the financial aspects of the 1977 fund. Whereas the township trustee is already the authorized agent for other in-person purposes in Wabash Township. Now therefore be it resolved by the Wabash Township Board that the pension board will be established as follows. Township trustee, fire chief, EMS division chief, 2 career firefighters, 1 retired firefighter, positions to remain vacant until we have a retiree to fill the role. 1 additional career firefighter if necessary to have an odd number of members. Be it further resolved by the Wabash Township Board that township trustee is the authorized agent for purposes of the 1977 fund. This resolution was adopted on the 7th day of June 2022.
We're calling that, Mr. Trustee, we're calling that 2022-17?
Correct.
Okay.
All right, I call for a vote on resolution 2022-17.
Call for vote.
We have a second?
Second. Call for vote on resolution 2022-17. Mender Betts, how do you vote?
I'll vote aye.
Chair Pillars, how do you vote?
Aye.
Secretary David Tate votes aye. Unanimous approval, resolution was passed. Thank you, Trustee Valentin.
All right,
And we'll include all that, what you just sent. in the minutes.
okay, so we've got everything we need.
Yes.
Okay,
I do have one item of old business.
yes, please.
2. Shelby Township, at our last meeting, Shelby Township. Reciprocal agreement, the contract, has that been signed?
So I communicated with Bill Jones in recent weeks. So they are waiting for the disbursement of funds that happens here in June. And once that disbursement is finalized, they'll be able to put a concrete number for this year's budgetary item. So you can probably expect that that resolution will come in either July or August. So they have the so.
The second one, any update on the fence over here by the Norton Cemetery that's been knocked down?
We're still waiting to try and get this county and the state to put a barrier rather than us installing a fence that gets taken down. Because, well, Chief has been here, it's been knocked out probably 5 times.
5 or 6, yeah.
So
As soon
we,
as new fence gets put up, it gets knocked down, so.
yeah, so we're trying to make something a little bit more permanent rather than the fence that keeps getting knocked out every.
I think my only other question was, are we going, or what is the news on timing for a population increase that we've been waiting on? Is that likely to happen for this June meeting, or are we waiting until July at this
So
point?
it should, the order, as the last communication I got from DLGF, I spoke with them last week, I believe on Thursday. They told us that our case is being managed by one of the specific a lawyer out of counsel's office in the DLGF, and that they expect that new budget order will come in by end of June. So it'll probably, for the purpose of when will we have the new maximum levy that we can mention in a public meeting, it'll probably be July.
Okay.
But it should come in between the June and July meetings.
Okay.
Knock on wood.
Yeah,
as
great.
As we all know, working with the state, sometimes things get delayed.
Yeah.
As we've experienced here with the 77 fund. So it's just, we're
Yep.
waiting on them to give us the new budget.
Great. Okay. Does anybody have any announcements before we adjourn?
Just a minor one.
Yeah.
for public interest. If you are interested in the flowers that we are preserving over at the cemetery, now's around this time to July is a really good time to start paying attention. Thistle comes out around this time. So we don't have them labeled because new guidance from the from our partner agency, niches, as to what the state is recommending they do with plants that they're trying to protect. But if you're interested, give me a shout and I'd be happy to go walk with you and show you the plants. And, yeah, it's just a 5-minute thing.
Yeah, great. All right. If there's nothing further, I will motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion to adjourn the meeting second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you.
All right. Meeting is adjourned.
at
See you all
7:47.
See you all on June 21st.
And if you guys can hover for a few minutes, I'm gonna go through and print out these so that